too far apart. That's how German Chancellor Angela Merkel described the positions of Europe's leaders late last night as talks over the EU's, well, trillion euro budget, well, for the rest of the decade, that is, broke up without any deal. They'll reconvene at lunchtime this Friday. But Mrs. Merkel is now warning a second summit will more than likely be needed early next year. The splits, well, they are pretty predictable, on predictable lines at least, with France defending its farm subsidies and poorer countries in Eastern and Southern Europe, well, they're resisting cuts to infrastructure spending that they benefit from. Now, Britain, well, it is leading the calls from richer nations to rein in EU spending at a time of some very tough austerity at home. Now, a little earlier, I spoke to Bill Blaine from Mint Partners. He said the lack of agreement on the budget, well, it points to some serious problems within Europe.
European leaders are back in Brussels for the 25th summit since the debt crisis began 3 years ago. This time they're in the Belgian capital to discuss the EU budget, or how to spend €1 trillion over the next 7 years. The summit, due to end on Friday but expected to go through until Sunday, looks set to be a battle of national interests, as cash-strapped governments look for any crumb of comfort to show the folks back home. Central to these summits is the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel.
I think our positions are very far from each other. New proposals have been made and will be examined by our experts. I hope then that our positions will move closer to each other. I think that tomorrow we will get closer and that we will get a result. I already said that we will need a second stage, but it was constructive and we want to move forward on this. We want to strengthen the growth. We want to deal with the money in a better way. We have some leads, but the road is still long.
An agreement could happen or not, and it would be not a drama if it doesn't happen. This is a really complicated negotiation that occurs only every 7 years, and I think it would be the first time if we had reached an agreement straight away.
To the skeptics, the European Union is a groaning bureaucracy in buildings dotted around Brussels, complete with 2 parliamentary buildings to appease multiple constituencies. Then there is the European Commission, the Council, the Eurogroup, Europol. But the running of the EU is only a fraction of the cost. Much of the trillion-plus-dollar budget to operate the EU for 7 years is for grants and subsidies. Things like funds to upgrade the poorer parts of Europe, from motorways in Poland and Ireland to a subway system in Bulgaria. These so-called cohesion funds are credited with increasing wealth, which comes back to the economies of, say, Germany and the UK in terms of exports and tourism. Then there are the fisheries budgets and the farmers with a so-called common agriculture policy. It's hard for any government anywhere to cut the subsidies to farmers. Though there has been reform of the CAP, it's still the biggest single item in the budget, whether it's for French dairy farmers or British beekeepers. In truth, where the money is going is pretty much set. The battle now is over whether the overall budget should be frozen or even cut in these austere times. Any cuts to the ag budget could lead to a French veto. Any cut to Britain's rebate could lead to its veto being wielded. Less developed countries could veto it if there are any big cuts to their subsidies. Critics have plenty to point to, of course. Waste can be found in any large budget. But the bottom line is, the Eurozone crisis has led to plans for ever closer integration. And this budget debate reminds supporters and detractors exactly why the European Union was created, even if it pits the rich states against the poor ones.